Hi, so one of the most common questions I get asked is, why does my stomach still poke out so much? Is it due to the diastasis? Is it due to bloating? Is it due to something else? Maybe it's just fat. What is the problem? So the first thing I tend to look at is, where is the stomach? So often if it's above the belly button and it's really out here, that tends to be wide ribs and bloating. And you can normally tell because it gets worse during the day, there's a lot more bloating, and it's very solid and very kind of balloon-like. Now, if it's more of a lower belly pooch or a mid-belly ball and it's hard, then it's normally actually to do with posture and probably the pelvic floor or the tension that is held in the stomach. So I'm going to use this semi-deflated balloon as an example to kind of show you what I mean. So if our back is normal, so imagine this side with my hand is my back, our belly should be soft, okay? So if we're relaxed, it should be soft, we should be able to manipulate it, and then if we want, our belly can go in and can flatten. Now what happens is, if we have, for example, a high hinge point or forward flared ribs, so that's when we have this position like that, so that's really tight in the back, look what happens to the stomach. So remember, it's nice and squishy, it can go in, we can make it flat. If our back has that high hinge point in it, now our belly is hard. It's like we're working against ourselves in order to try and flatten our belly. It's just about impossible because there's all this pressure coming out. Now, conversely, if we grip under our ribs, so I see a lot of people who really they grip under their rib cage so hard because they're really trying to engage their core and keep everything tight. But their external muscles are far more dominant or strong than their deep core. So all that tends to happen is that gripping under the rib cage here puts pressure out into that middle belly, lower belly, and down into the pelvic floor. So when we grip under our rib cage and that area under the rib cage goes in more than the belly button, for example, you are gripping too hard, and that's putting pressure down into the belly button area and the pelvic floor, which makes it worse if we also have, and I don't know if I can do this, but if we also have that high hinge point, now we're really putting pressure into our pelvic floor and to our mid-belly area. And this is very dangerous for the pelvic floor, can cause incontinence, it can cause, contribute to prolapse or urgency or anything like that. Now what tends to happen with these people who also grip, often there's some tightness in the pelvic floor. And if you have that sort of hard ball shape in your belly button area, and it's kind of like tight just under here, so from the pubic bone up for a few inches, and then it kind of balls out to just above the belly button, and you can't get it to flatten, that tends to be tight pelvic floor, a little bit of gripping, and we get this ball in this belly button area. And if we have that back arching as well, there's a lot of pressure coming out. Now here's the problem: when we have all this pressure and we're really trying to flatten our belly and engage, we can't. There's just too much pressure. We're too tight. So we need to relax everything. So it's all squishy, and that way it can come in and flatten. If we are holding too much tension, whether it's under the ribs, whether it's in the rib cage, whether it's in our back, the pressure is out here, and we can't flatten it. We're working against ourselves. So I hope that helps you understand sort of why our alignment and actually relaxing more helps you flatten the stomach. Those of you who have a tight pelvic floor are basically working against yourself because that tightness in the pelvic floor pushes pressure out into the abdomen, which if you also have diastasis means you're pushing against that connective tissue. If you hold tension, so some people grind their teeth, some people hold tension up here, other people hold tension under their rib cage or in their pelvic floor, and that tension also pushes out onto that belly. And then if we have an anterior tilt or forward flared ribs, which tends to work both ways, again, you've got that lot of pressure coming out into the belly area, and we need to release and relax to make our abdomen ready to recover. Too many people start with the strength work before they have released and relaxed. If you think you do have a tight pelvic floor, the Pelvic Floor Freedom Program works through this in detail. It really helps get that thoracic mobility, teaches you how to release your pelvic floor, how to coordinate it correctly in order to be able to flatten the belly itself. So that is a great place to start.